Some of CNN's biggest rivals, including Fox News, are supporting its legal fight with the White House. But why? Let's connect the dots. It all started when the Trump administration revoked CNN reporter Jim Acosta's press pass. That was after Acosta got into a spat with the president during a recent news conference, and a White House intern tried to take the mic away from him. CNN sued the White House to get Acosta's press pass back, and their biggest competitors are supporting the move, including CBS, ABC, NBC, and the Associated Press. Fox News is doing more than just releasing a statement. It is filing a brief in court to support CNN's cause. Fox said it didn't support the confrontational tone of reporters or the president, but a free press with access to the president was more important. For its part, the White House says there is no harm keeping Acosta out because there are other reporters covering the president. Connecting the dots, I'm Janelle Bluda for H-Town Rush.